The world, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Yeah. There's no mercy in this world, just hunger-thirsty persons in different versions. Each new update, that shit worsens. Why? Pull back the curtain and you'll see the different vermin. We all have different burdens that all seem to cause disturbance. Yo, do me a favor, don't treat me like a neighbor. Don't need the different flavors of your problems just to savor. I've got my own issues, I need a comb to get through. Don't need to groan with you, just go get your own tissue.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
That's it, the end of the song. Next time you'll sing along. Trust me, there's nothing wrong. I just need to carry on, cause society's a myth put there to make you sit. Listen to what they give, don't ask questions, shut your lid.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? So welcome to episode 12 of Between the Lines podcast, where we all talk all things MLB and stuff like that. Before we get into it, if you guys are new, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also check in the pinned comments for check out our me and Tyler Coleman's new network called the All-Star Sports Network. That is in the pinned comment above it. So before my other co-host will get into the building in just a moment, so I'm going to give for those who kind of are new to this kind of like show and stuff like that, kind of give a bit of a rundown. Kind of just, like I said, talk all things, like I said, MLB, kind of self-explanatory, but also, with some topics in the news and stuff like that and all that good stuff. And, that's just how the way I see it. So before my other co-host will get it up in here, first thing I was going to talk about or discuss is the new MLB rule changes. Obviously, with the pitch timer, it's not a pitch clock, so kind of debunk all of that as well. The pitch clock, bigger bases, and I think also the disengagement rule, if I'm not mistaken, too. But my thing is, especially with the pitch timer, I'm starting to kind of like it a little bit based on the fact that because some of these pitchers nowadays are just fucking slow as molasses, for a lack of a better term. What's good? What is good, John L? What is... But it's like right now, so far we've been very good so far right now through so I think went almost a week through spring training, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, I just feel like, for me, on the other hand, it's just how we can just see what these rules are going to, or because we saw some pitch timer violations throughout most of spring training, I would say. Um, and to be quite honest, though, I would say, it's not terrible as for what people. It may not be the most people's cup of tea, but you had to take into consideration, like, yeah, sometimes who wants to sit through a baseball game that's like, could go 3+, 4+, sometimes 5+ hours, depending on extra innings and whatnot. Now, the one rule, yes, I can disagree or agree that should never been brought back was the extra inning rule. Because it's like, for me, that's like a cheap way of giving either the home team the walk off, or it's like being a cheap way to win. It's for lack of a better term. But like I said, it's just one of those things. It's kind of hard to really disagree with, or actually, no, agree with. I do apologize for that. So regardless, I feel like, for me, on the other hand, I just feel like, first of all, the extra rule should never have been brought back. If I'm going to have to be completely honest with y'all, I really do. And it's just the way that I just see it. It's the way, like I said, it's a cheap way to get onto it. It's stuff like that. Oh God, my apologies. Holy crap. So outside of that, like I said, hopefully my co-host can actually get. Actually, let me just give me 1 second, because it feels like I don't think my co-host actually picked it up or something like that. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, just bear with me, everybody. All right, just give me 1 second. So, Jesus, got to fix a lot of everything right now. But yeah, trust me, I saw in the group chat, Mitch. Yes, I saw that. So I saw that a lot. So that's gonna be interesting, but it's kind of funny regardless. And to be quite, actually, I gotta fix up a little something really quick. So, well, before my co-host get here, if you guys have any like baseball questions and stuff like that, floor is open for everybody who wants to ask any baseball questions and stuff like that. Like, I'm always open up for questions and stuff like that. And all that stuff. So let's get, but shout out to the five total people that's in here, though. Yo, what's good, Flame? What is good, my dude? So, like I said, we, so we still got, we talked about, well, right now, like I said, before my co-host get here, hope they forget yet, and stuff like that. But before we go any further, if you guys are new to the All-Star Sports Network or coming through my channel and stuff like that, you can check out the pinned comment to hit that subscribe button over to the All-Star Sports Network. That is me and Tyler's new network. So we're actually going to try to help get a good group of content creators up and going, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, kind of really talking, because we're going to have like a good diverse group of creators. But yeah, so I mean, it's gonna be fun. But give me 1 second, so make it easier for y'all to get it in the chat. Give me 1 second, everybody. All right, there we go. Alrighty. Alrighty, so let's do this. Control C. Alrighty. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Star. All right. So I am putting all the link for the All-Star Sports Network in the chat. So you guys want to come check us out. Yes, we are almost getting close to 30 subscribers, in a very short time frame. So so we'll actually have that up and going. Hopefully. But yeah, let me just see 1 second. But yeah, so Other than that, though, like I said, it's going to be. Oh, hang on a second. Jesus. Okay, well. Okay, well. Okay, so I fixed that with that. So my apologies. I'm going to keep this going, but outside of that, man, I thought I'm excited for the MLB season. Hopefully to see what these new rule changes. Now, granted, I think there's a couple rules that I did agree with. Obviously, the bigger bases, because let's be real, for someone who currently still plays. I mean, especially if you're especially your first baseman, third baseman, or shortstop or second base. Try not to get spiked, because that's the worst thing the last thing you want to do, and actually get hurt. So I think that's why I think that with the bigger bases, for me, it's just like it seems more sense. And plus, the loss of stolen bases. I mean, damn, who doesn't like doing stolen bases? Which we have seen a lot so far. Not just through the spring training this year, but we also saw in the minor leagues last year, who right now implemented these kind of new rule changes. And we see some prospects, take advantage of that. I mean, one in particular, especially for the Philadelphia Phillies, was Johan Rojas, who swiped 62 bags, got caught 5 times. It's like, we've seen, the success rate of the stolen base going up, because, that's kind of been, taken away, I would say, in a way that, it has not, the baseball hasn't really used to be, and not, try, because that's the one way, because for me, I think it's one of, that's just kind of the way that I would see, that the stolen base kind of thing, I just hate it when it became forgotten. So regardless, so hopefully, yeah, this is gonna it's gonna be fun. Like I said, outside of that, whatever got planned out, especially with the in terms of MLB, anyway. So we're gonna do a lot more MLB streams. Definitely gonna cover the World Baseball Classic. And speaking of the World Baseball Classic, how about Shohei Ohtani, kind of still doing his thing, already getting really warmed up for Team Samurai Japan. It's gonna be fun, I would say. And for me, it's just like, it's just like he doesn't like spring training. Well, I think we're about more than a few weeks into spring training, because usually opening day is March 30th, in 24 days from now. So we don't have that much long for spring training to be done and over with and stuff like that. But we know we have some players that were in spring training are going to be in the World Baseball Classic. We see some withdrawals. Obviously, some that were dealing with injuries. Some maybe just do it to pull out, not to represent your country and stuff like that in the global scale of baseball, but just try to prevent injuries to, before opening day. So it makes sense either way. There's a lot of sleepers that I've seen so far this year, or not say this year, but during the spring training. I've really watched a lot of spring training games, and that's my biggest nitpick, is try to have all spring training games televised. Because I really think that's it's a better idea to have all spring training games televised at the same time. That's just the way that I see it. And to be quite frankly, though, it's just one of those things, I think that's like some people's gripes of spring training. Like sometimes they hate that most games are not televised. I mean, this year, though, we got a good chunk that are televised, but still, it would have been nice to see this spring training be televised, so we can actually get a good look of who's could be a like I said, sleeper, or but yeah. So outside of that, though, I would say, try to, I don't know, like I said, it's just one of those things. It's really kind of to be hard to really look at, I would say. But regardless, especially for my Phillies, so there's a couple sleepers that people I would consider sleepers that can potentially make the roster. One in particular is Weston Wilson. Yes, he may not be like the flashiest paper on paper, but there's times where I've seen this guy, especially in some spring training games that I've seen, where like he can steal your bags. Sure, I mean, he does have the speed tool, and he does have a good decent contact and power tool to have, in that lineup. So regardless, I just feel like, but yeah. So outside of that, and I think Johan Rojas is another guy I consider be a sleeper to make this roster. just because I feel like, there's lots to like Johan Rojas, speed, contact, all that stuff. But now the swing path's got to get leveled out a little bit. But regardless, it's just, like I said, I haven't really much watched a lot of spring training games to kind of see, who's a sleeper and who's not. But that being said, because like I said, I've mostly allowed to watch the Philly spring training games, and stuff like that, and kind of get an idea where some of these guys are, and stuff like that. But speaking of, and obviously, I think no one's really kind of paying attention to this too. I think this kind of really went under the radar, and sometimes rightfully so. The Colorado Rockies made a signing, I think, yesterday, picking up Mike Moustakas. I don't know. Like I said, they'll have something I have no idea, man. I have no idea. Well, you never know because he might get us like a second look at. So, there's a thing called sometimes it doesn't really take that time to rush. But regardless, talking about the Rockies in particular. Now the Rockies, well, let's just see. If you're a Rockies fan, I feel bad for you because man, your team just have been. What's the word I'm looking for here? That's pitiful, to say the least. Now, that's not to say, you got some decent talent on for the Rockies to have. Herman Marquez, I think he's still a solid guy in that rotation. But right, man, he's decent, but he's not great either. And just look at the team as in general. I mean, right now they're kind of just biting the bullet on the Chris Bryant contract, who cannot stay healthy to save his life. And it's just like, I don't know, like the Rockies have to figure out something because, they are just not going to, the way that I see it in terms of the way that the Rockies have been the last few years, they're still going to be the basement dwellers of the NL West. I mean, I think the Diamondbacks have gotten somewhat better, I think not better enough to where they can finish like in the top 3 in terms of the NL West. And we know you got the Padres, the Dodgers, and the Giants, who, let's be real, hasn't really gotten much better either. But we're not going to talk about the Giants right now. But the Rockies did pick up Mike Moustakas. Quite frankly, though, I really don't care for it. And, I think this kind of signing this tells you that, I think the Rockies are desperate, and the fact that you could also have Ryan McMahon at third base and stuff like that, whatever the case may be. It's just, I think the Rockies I mean, they're just too goddamn cheap. Well, I don't say cheap. Then again, that's kind of the Cincinnati Reds in the nutshell, but that's a whole nother story for another day. But since the Rockies picking up Mike Moustakas, who, to be quite honest, it's not good. It's not the same player as he used to be. And I think over time, and stuff like that, it's just like, it's hard to talk about the Rockies because they're just so bad almost each and every year. I mean, think about it. They have races that, they had good players over the years and just never did nothing with them. Tulo, who else am I missing? They had Larry Walker, who's a Hall of Famer. Over time, like they just had not gotten better. I mean, I think after 2008, I think that's when they had some good years. Sure, they had not a prime Ubaldo Jimenez. I mean, he was actually pretty disgusting for what he had back in his prime years. But outside of that, if you really looked at the Rockies the last 5 years, the Rockies, they're just then again, they've been, and there's some years that they finished 4th because, the Diamondbacks are just kind of, or trash too. So, I mean, there's, no beating around the bush with that. So, with the Rockies picking up Mike Moustakas, like I said, I think this is I won't say it's a desperation sign, but, like the fact that it's like you're not going into, let's be real, if, the fact you already had Chris Bryant out of the outfield, who, like I mentioned before, can't stay healthy to save his fucking life. Mike Moustakas, I don't know how well he's going to play at Coors Field. So who knows if he can catch whatever or recapture. I'll say his early years with Kansas City, but kind of like before he started that bit of a decline in his play. But for me, I just can't. The Rockies need a better ownership. and the general manager and the front office, they have to change too. We'll get to that. That's an interesting too, and there's been a lot of talks of an extension. So we'll get more onto that tomorrow. I'll talk about on the Phillies Talk podcast. I think that's going to be more. We'll talk more onto that. So, like I said, going back, like I said, but the Rockies, though, jeez, if you're a Rockies fan, y'all deserve a lot better than what this team is giving you. And then again, and we'll get to another team that's kind of well, for lack of a better term, is I could not say in the same boat. But in a way, the fan base is kind of like, in that kind of boat, in the boat where they deserve a lot better. And we'll talk about, I mean, we did mention the Cincinnati Reds, but there's another team at that division we'll get to later on. But like I said, the Rockies, if I'm going to have to grade this signing, I'm going to have to give it a straight flat D. Because I'm sorry, like you should learn how to actually know how to play better baseball. But then again, you could also make the argument that, yeah, maybe Bud Black may not be the guy to lead this team to anywhere. Because I've seen predictions where they're going to be another fourth place finish. I appreciate that, Jerry. I really do. I appreciate that. But like I said, I think that the Rockies, I think they're going to have another face for another fourth place finish because looking at the roster, I mean, like I said, Germán Marquez, I like. I think Julius Chastain is decent, but not great. Charlie Blackmon is, kind of in a different perspective. Whereas, like, he hasn't, I mean, he's been, not to say consistent, but he has these moments where, but then again, he's also getting up there in age, so who knows how much more can he give to the Rockies, who's been there for what feels like forever. But to be quite honest, though, it's just for me, and the way how this, Rockies organization has been the last few years, it's been nothing but pitiful. And, at some point they should have to go to like a rebuild. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like this signing by Mike Moustakas, that's a flat D for me on, not just on paper, but in reality. But like I said, on paper, but we gotta wait to see how the state of play goes with Mike Moustakas and Coors Field. But if he shits the bed with the Rockies, then yeah, I'll demote that to an F. But like I said, Bud Black, I really don't think as great as people think he is. But what's good, man? What's good, Greg and John? But it's just like if you're a Rockies fan, you have to think of the so. Like I'm like a diehard Phillies fan, but as a general baseball fan in general, or just a general baseball fan, I know where I can see a bad team where I can see it. And I think that's where the Diamondbacks, look, to all Diamondbacks fans, no offense. I think you guys got somewhat better, but you're still guys going to be actually, no, wait a minute. It's a 5-team division? No, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, so it's going to be another fifth place finish for the Rockies. My apologies. That's right. I keep forgetting. It's 6 leagues for 5 teams. So, all right, my math was off wrong, but you know where I was going before I made that. I realized I made my mistake. But we know that the fourth place finish, I can see a fourth place finish with the Diamondbacks, because, I mean, just to what you have, they have to get, and, speaking with the Diamondbacks, though, Ketel Marte's got to get some help, and it's ridiculous to see where, I don't know, like, it's just weird just to see where the state of the Diamondbacks are. I like Corbin Carroll. I think they're going to do, I think he's going to have a good season, this time actually have a full season under his belt. But then you got the Giants who, let's just say, didn't have the greatest all season. Could have had Correa, but the physical failed. John Heyman jumping the gun of getting Arson judged before that kind of really went in that kind of debacle. But look at the state of the NL West. It's going to come down to 2 teams. It's definitely it's going to be the Padres and the Dodgers. I mean, I'm sorry, but I just cannot trust a team like the Rockies, who are going to be a consistent last place finish in that division until they sell the team. Diamondbacks, I think they're definitely going to get better. I think they definitely can overtake the Giants for the 3rd place spot going down. But who knows? Who knows if the Diamondbacks could actually overtake the Giants? Because, I mean, in terms of, because like I said, that NL West is kind of run by the Padres and the Dodgers. But I do see, I think the one team, sorry, Dodgers fans, but I know the fact you have not done nothing to get better. If I want to have to put a prediction who's going to win the NL West, for me, it's the Padres. I think they've done enough to try to win. Going to have to win that division. And, who knows? We're going to wait and see because that's my prediction right now. I think I do have the NL West going to the Padres because let's be real, I don't think the Dodgers are that great. I mean, they're a good team, don't get me wrong, but they have not done nothing to really improve. And speaking with the Dodgers, this is another question this was interesting that I wanted to ask on this show. Did the Dodgers regret letting Trey Turner walk in free agency? Obviously, when his contract was up with the Dodgers, he walked to Philadelphia on an 11-year deal in free agency. And unfortunately, with the unfortunate injury to Gavin Lux after tearing his ACL, I mean, they did trade for Miguel Rojas, but it's just, to be quite honest, man, Miguel Rojas is not a better option either. I mean, for the many times that I've seen him, especially in this division, in our division, he's okay with the bat. It's just like he's just an okay player. He's not going to be the same player as he used to be. I mean, he's already getting up there in age. And quite frankly, though, I just feel like he's just not that good of a replacement. And I think the Dodgers right now are kind of biting the bullet of letting Trey Turner walk. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see how that turns out because I just feel like the Padres they've gotten better. It's just I don't know, man. This NL West is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to watch. Actually, now this is interesting because I actually wanted to not want to say interesting, but this is another part I actually want to talk about, like who right now, like say who has the worst contract in baseball, or right now as of right now. But you can think of anybody who has the worst contract in the MLB. There's a couple of players that comes to mind. One in particular is Steven Strasburg. Let's be real, that contract that the Nationals gave him after 2019. That's really they're really biting that for sure. And same with Patrick Corbin when they gave him that extension, and that was just terrible. I think after 2019, they should just cut the ties with Patrick Corbin. But who knows? If Patrick Corbin somehow has a bounce back season, at least has a better season than he did last year, then I think, we can, that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But right now, for me, I think the number one is definitely Steven Strasburg because, I mean, the dude just couldn't stay healthy to save his fucking life the last couple of years. And I wanted to make a video on this, but I think it was better to talk about this anyways, was the fact that I think you should consider retirement. The dude has done so much. He's got a World Series ring, and the dude just couldn't stay. Injuries right now have been plaguing him for most of his career. And it's sad because the dude, and when that song came up, in his early national days, dude had electric stuff. But, unfortunately with some of these flamethrowers, there's more higher risk of injury than, say who guy can go to between, like, say 90 to 95, in that kind of that velocity range. But that's besides the point for me. I think, but I can also make the argument this next the bad contract, I think on paper, that's what it's looking like right now, is the Chris Bryant one for the Colorado Rockies, like I mentioned, who I talked about before. This contract, and sometimes I feel like, and I think you could blame Chris Bryant on this one. I mean, first of all, why the hell would you go to a team that's not going to contend for the next couple of years, which is beyond my imagination. And the dude's talented, is a good player anyway, and it's decent, but the fact he took that kind of type of contract from the Rockies, who, like I said, not going to contend for for a couple of years, it is ridiculous. I don't know. I want to kind of get you guys' thoughts on that. Like, who do you think who has the worst contract in baseball? Like I said, right now two. I brought up two: Chris Bryant for the Rockies, or signing that contract with the Rockies, and that Steven Strasburg extension. Which, then again, there's actually, you know what? Let's throw that third one in there. I think this is kind of most obvious. Anthony Rendon by the Angels. That's really looking super ugly as hell. And to be quite honest, it is ridiculous for a guy who, you looked at the time when he played for the Nationals, was a good player. But then, since going to the Angels, cannot stay healthy. I don't know what the hell is going over there in Anaheim, but I don't know exactly. But yeah. But outside of that, those are my so far my top three in terms of the worst contracts. So anybody wants to do in the chat, let me know what you guys' thoughts or your opinions on the baddest or bad contracts in baseball. I would like to see that happen, but I mean, if you're the the Nats right now, well, let's be real. They're going to have to make some moves in order to if that's going to be the case. But yeah, and stuff like that. All right. But yeah, so that's just the way that I looked at it. I mean, Chris Bryant, if he, jeez, like I said, should have went to a contender, like I said, but that's another story for another day. But like I mentioned before about the Rockies, in terms of a team that's not going to contend for a few years or something like that, is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, sorry, and Pirates fans, sorry, we're going to have to. I mean, this has been. Actually, I wanted to talk about this for a little bit because, like I said, it's kind of been a while since I've done this show. But Pirates owner Bob Nutting, and I know most Pirates fans they want him gone. I know some that actually do want him gone. I think I see some Pirates fans just he has not really done that franchise any fucking justice. But that's here nor there. Pirates owner Bob Nutting complains about the new CBA that did not benefit the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're going to be sent into this year as a bottom five payroll. First of all, why the fuck are you complaining? Because first of all, you're the owner. If you spent a ton of money under this new CBA, then we have not been conversation about this. This is you're complaining because you doesn't benefit you. First of all, it doesn't benefit the Reds, who have not done, in terms of spending money, not done great. Now they're having the Pirates. What do you have to show for it? You got O'Neal Cruz. The dude, well, let's be real. In terms of hitting one, he hit the ball hard, but he's just most of the time swing and miss most of the time. The fact, and then you're trying to pony up a thing for Brian Reynolds. You're asking way too much for a guy like Brian Reynolds. There's a lot of problems that I see with the Pittsburgh Pirates. There's just a lot of fucking problems. One problem will stem for that is the ownership. This is why after 2013, the Pirates have not been the same. Let's be real. Even bringing back Andrew McCutchen, it's like, what's good that's going to do? Now, if it's for, you can't blame Andrew McCutchen where it comes from, sure. If he wants to retire as a Pirate, sure. Like, I'm all for that. But in terms of the ownership, but yeah, but outside of that, man, it's been fucking nothing but embarrassment. It's been bad. Last 3 years been nothing but 100 plus games lost. Or was it 4 games or 4 years, whatever the fucking case may be? The Pittsburgh Pirates, it's just nothing but a poverty franchise. I'm sorry. Like, if you looked at prior to 2013, even that 2013, the fact that they even made the wild card, they had a really good team. So had a prime Andrew McCutchen, who I think he's coming off an MP. Oh, that too. And that's kind of worse as well. And we'll get to speaking of the Detroit Tigers, let's talk about them a little bit, because I didn't have them down written in my notes. And Detroit, where do I go from there? What do I even describe the Detroit Tigers? But it's just, I don't know. Like like I said, teams like these, like the Tigers, the Pirates, the Reds, like it's hard to really talk about them and just how bad they truly are. And that's sad. It really is. For a team that, like the Tigers, who, had 3 All-Stars, had a really decent team in, in 2006 and something like that. Could have had a couple world championships, but no, they continued to flounder in a weak AL Central. And knowing that the fact that before Scherzer even left, and stuff like that, you had guys like Scherzer, Verlander at one point, Prince Fielder, if it weren't that neck injury to force him to retire early. I mean, who knows? The dude just does not have no discipline. And that's where my issue, and that's where I always nitpick with Javi Baez. Even during this time with the Chicago Cubs, from what I've seen, the dude just swings at everything. He's a free swinger. And that's where more times than not, he has more strikeouts than he does walks most of the time. And yes, he does have some good power and good tools. Like I said, the issue is he swings at pitches way too much. If you look at like 2 years ago, where I think he swung a ball, like, even when the time was matchup, I think you know where I'm going with this. If you saw the clip where he swings at a pitch that was like nowhere near the strike zone, and that was so far away outside, and it's like, the dude is just such a free swinger. So that remains to be seen. If not, I've been hearing a lot of, like, say, rumors and rumblings that he could be a trade piece at the trade deadline. Because knowing that they're invested way too much money in Javi Baez, I know they're kind of spitting on that for a second. You had rookies, give them the benefit of the doubt, didn't really perform well. Dealt with a lot of injuries to their pitching staff for sure. It's just, I don't get it. I really don't. I really want to believe in the Tigers. I just can't. And I know Tigers fans a lot of times too, just like, I bet they're probably fed up with it. So it's like, when's enough of this fucking mediocrity? Now, I think another team, that's, kind of, I would say, being mediocre, but I think it's not that far off. It's just the Chicago Cubs. Now, the Cubs is an interesting case, for a team that won the World Series in 2016. Yes, and unfortunately had to blow it up because, most of the core players were getting on the older side of things. And obviously dealt with it, and, obviously there's some controversy with Anderson Russell, but that's a whole another story. That's that was a little bit something that back then. Lake Contreras' walk was surprising, to say the least, this past all season. But Contreras was, I think, entering his age 31 season. I don't know. Like, it's that the Cubs, I don't think they're that far off from being terrible, or as I say, being great. But I think they're going to be a good team this year. I really do think they're going to play well. I know they're going to be a tough and scrappy team. I know from what I've seen, well, so mostly for most of the time, seeing my Phillies played against the Cubs and unfortunately getting swept by them twice. But yeah, and stuff like that. But outside of that, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see some teams. I think the Cleveland Guardians are going to still be a good team in that. Because let's be real, that AL Central is going to be an open division. Because let's be real, the White Sox, well, let's be real, the biggest signing they got was Andrew Benintendi, and he hasn't been the same in what it feels like in quite some time since after he left Boston. I like Dylan Cease. I think he's a really good pitcher, but I think he could do better elsewhere on a contending team. For me, I just can't. That entire division is just weak. No, I'm sorry. I don't want Baez. I would think. I mean, look, as much as that I would like to agree with that, I just don't. Number one, Baez is on the older side of things, and I don't think, I just don't see, just don't see him. I don't think where he fits, how this team wants to see it. I just don't think he fits well. I mean, for me, I would say, like, let Stock keep developing as a second baseman. I mean, that's the way that I look at it. Let her build her homegrown guys. That's something. Well, we're gonna have to wait and see till the trade deadline. So he could be a Dodger. He could go anywhere, or he can stay with the Tigers. No matter who, or hell, could be funny if he'd be a White Sox. But that's a whole. Like I said, we'll see come the trade deadline if the Tigers do decide to move on from that. But regardless, and I actually kind of read about this. I know this came a little bit early, like mid-February, like February 25th. Really, kind of caught my attention a little bit. I know this kind of a little bit late, but I actually want to kind of talk about this a little bit. Well, and that's why I talked about the Dodgers are already regretting let Trey Turner walk in free agency. So, I mean, like I said, I think the Dodgers are going to be a second place team in that NL West. If you're going to be completely to yes, I mean, but then again, who knows? Like anything can happen in the game of baseball. So, like I said, really can't really say for sure. But like I said, nothing is for certain. But yeah, so outside of that, um, another player that I think probably people tend to actually forgotten for over the time was Zach Britton. Zach Britton at one point was probably one of the most dominant closers. I think from like 2014 to before 2020, where he just pretty much just tore it up, especially during this time with Baltimore, and had some pretty decent years with the Yankees. But there's been some teams that have been eyeing Zach Britton. And Tim Anderson's that's gonna be another interesting thing of what the White Sox are going to do with Tim Anderson, because that's something that's going to got to keep your eye out on. But like I said, nothing is for certain in the game of baseball, so anything can be possible. But outside of that, man, it's just been. Whew. Let me see something, because actually, let me go find where I found it. So, okay, so actually, this is interesting. So, even though I actually pulled up an article from MLBTradeRumors.com. I doubt it. Knowing that he's our actual leadoff hitter, though. But sticking with Zach Britton, let's see, where is it? Well, we know that Brad Hand signed with the Rockies. So let's be real. That's I think that's another thing too that's been kind of but like I said, the Rockies are such a desperate franchise. I'm going to be completely honest. But like I said, I pulled a article from MLBTradeRumors.com. Now take this for what you will. This was from February 15th at 2023, kind of titled "Zach Britton Workout for 16." So, like I said, I said there's going to be multiple teams. The kind of teams in particular, yeah, Colorado did pick up sign Mike Moustakas, and well, we'll see how that goes out, because, like I said, that if you talk about having to be in such a poverty franchise, that's Colorado Rockies in the NL West in a nutshell. But now we're speaking with Zach Britton, though. Like I said, there's been there's some multiple teams, like 6 teams in particular, are been eyeing to kind of acquire or as a sign Zach Britton, who has not signed with anybody. So obviously, the Mets are one of them, or is one of the teams. You got the Mets, the Angels, the Giants, Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Texas Rangers were also in attendance to Zach Britton's workout. And like I said, for the good portion from 2014, I think to 2018 at one point. I think Zach Britton was one of the dominant closers for Baltimore. I think he had like 50 something odd saves, and I think he had like a sub 2 ERA at that one point. And thought he done really well. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, we'll talk more. Like I said, we'll talk more on the Phillies. Probably. Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, but yeah. So outside of that, man. So yeah. So Steve Adams actually wrote this and say, and stuff like that. So he goes on to say his former All-Star closer Zach Britton is hosting a workout. Like I said, this is from February 15th. So like I said, this is from 3 weeks ago. Is hosting a workout for 6 interesting clubs today. Obviously, Heyman tweets from of the New York Post, and then a Mets beat writer, Anthony DeComo, also of MLB, which is the Mets beat reporter, also that mentions the Mets are one of the teams in particular, or need. Well, I'll say, talk about the Mets being one of the 6 teams in attendance of that workout. And then, like I said, you have the Angels, the Giants, the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Rangers were also in attendance. But outside of that, I mean, and even the Tigers has actually shown interest in Zach Britton too. So I guess you could say make it 7 teams. But we'll see. It's the second time that the 35-year-old Britton has thrown for teams this all season. Though the first was a more league-wide showcase that took place back in mid-January. And stuff like that. So obviously 2021, despite 2/3 of an inning and stuff like that. But yeah, that I mean, most people want to get see spring training. But like I said, Arku, you got 24 days left before your home opener against us. So we're gonna wait and see how that goes and stuff like that. So we're gonna wait and it's gonna be interesting. And stuff like that. But like I said, the question is, where does Zach Britton go? That remains to be seen. Now, to be quite honest, though, I think the best team that could there's a few teams I could say outside of out of this article I could see. Then again, I won't be surprised if the Mets can somehow pick them up. And then again, I think they spend I think a little bit too much. But yeah, so I mean, it's just been Mets could be a huge possibility. But then again, do they need more like old relievers? I don't think so, because I think their farm system is good enough to where you can bring up some guys, and let them develop as they go through and through this MLB season. Angels, what's their bullpen situation looking like? I don't know, but Cubs, I mean, want to be opposed to the Cubs actually would pick them up, because I think who. But outside of that, man, like I said, Cubs could be an interesting team to pick them up. Maybe the Mets, but I think really, I mean, the Mets bullpen's good enough, but do they really need a guy like Zach Britton to? I mean, you can bolster it, but I don't know. Like, I really do not know. And Rangers, maybe. The Rangers is a big maybe, because I do think the Rangers could use some extra bullpen help. I think from like last year. But yeah, that's the way that I looked at it. And to be quite honest, man, damn. Because you know what? I think if I'm going to put my money on like who's the first team going to get Zach Britton, I think for me, that team really I think could use some extra bullpen help. It's definitely the Texas Rangers, because I know the last year the Rangers bullpen hasn't been terrible, but hasn't been good. It's kind of like that right in the middle of the pack kind of range where they need some extra arms. That's all I'm saying. That's the way I looked at it. I think Zach Britton, yes, I know he may not be I think he's already not the same guy as he used to be. I mean, and that may be the case, but they're going to have to eat up the rest of that contract that Trout's going to get. And we all know that, Ohtani might be going out into the free agent market. So, Ohtani may not be an Angel for much longer. If that's the case. Because, I mean, there's going to be some teams that I can see that can make a push for Ohtani. Dodgers is one of them. The Mets. I've seen the Cubs actually getting thrown into the mix with Ohtani because of Seiya Suzuki kind of trying to recruit him over to Chicago. And, that's the way I've seen it. Like I said, only time will tell. We have to wait till the next offseason to see where does Ohtani go. If he does not sign or stay with the Angels, that I disagree with. I would say, but like I said, I'll talk more on basketball, because we do have a network exclusive show coming up. I don't say coming up, but that's in the works. But I'll say something about it. Now, like I said, it could be, to be quite honest, though. Like I said, the 2024 offseason is going to be interesting, especially now you got Ohtani, who's going to be a free agent regardless. So we're going to see many teams, like I said, like I mentioned, named off the Dodgers, the Mets, and possibly the Cubs could actually make a push for Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani, yes, getting up to I'd say the older side of things. And the fact that, well, then again, I get that because that's your division rival. But regardless, my final thoughts before we get up out of here is the fact that I think most people want to see spring training done and over with. I mean, who doesn't? But then again, this is good, and I do like spring training for one specific reason: is I see who can make the roster, like who can need some more time and stuff like that. Like I said, in terms of like the Phillies side of things, I've seen Jake Cave impressing me a lot. I think he's going to be a nice backup center field piece to Brandon Marsh, because I think I mean, even though he's not the same player as he used to be, but I think he's going to get an opportunity to play a lot more, and especially on days off, when we get Brandon Marsh some days off, which, rightfully so, because, you don't want to really burn out your players. I like Weston Wilson. I think he could be another bench piece. Cody Clemens has been kind of impressing, me as well for a guy. Let's be real, has to not really, in terms of the batting average, has been look. I don't think he was a terrible player in the search means, but I think he could be, like I said, a nice utility bench piece you could use. Like say if you're going to give Stott a day off, you could just plug him in at second, or get Bowman a day off, plug him in the third, or short, or the outfield. Whatever the case may be, you can find at least a spot for Cody Clemens, who has been very impressing me so far this spring. We know that Darryl Hall's going to be the DH until Hartman gets back before the All-Star break. So, and we're on the way to see how that goes. And not just from the Philly side of things, we can see what the Rangers are going to be looking like. Because I really have not really heard nothing much from the Rangers camp and stuff like that, despite that one little setback, I would say, of Jacob deGrom. And stuff like that. But outside of that, I got nothing else to add. Appreciate everyone who kind of tuned in. If you guys are new, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to check out the All-Star Sports Network. That will be in the pinned comment or in the chat box. Actually, let me bring. And so, yeah, so it will be right up here. So, if it's pinned up there, check it out. We're right now we're almost close to 30 subscribers overall from this network, so we're gonna try to get a lot more content to you guys. With that being said, this is episode 12 of Between the Lines, and I will see you on opening day.